Art Chat is made possible by the support of the Artistic Harmonies Association. Create your next aha experience with us. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Art Chat. I'm your host, Linda Riesenberg Fisler, and I am here today with John Anderson, my co-founder and business partner for Artistic Harmonies Association. Hi, John. How you doing?
Doing pretty well, thanks. Got a storm front moving in here. It's looking pretty wicked outside. So,
Oh, it's a gorgeous day over here in about the 70s.
well, I'll send this your way.
I think it comes my way anyway, but thanks.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So yeah, I was Tom's out bike riding, and I was thinking about joining him, but I worked on book 5, Dagger, today, trying to get all of that put in place so I can launch that puppy out. So it's getting better.
Yeah, that's good.
Couple hours a day. So, all right. So basically, we are going to talk a little bit about value and values, 2 different things. John will get into that. But first, what I wanted to do, and this may not come across too well for our audio listeners. So any of the audio listeners out there on YouTube, if you search for Fisler or Artistic Harmonies on YouTube, you will find this Art Chat, basically the video version of it. You can also find it on our website under the Art Chat label. But what I wanted to do was share something I think is really exciting. So from here, yeah, there's our website. Isn't that cool? Lists our honorary members and a lot of different things. You can explore our blog, which is free. So we have a lot of different blog posts there, and I have one for John that I will be putting up tomorrow, and you can see that. But what I wanted to talk about rather quickly was that we have our own social media on this, a social media platform on this website. If you're a member, you can come to the social media place and share and ask questions and all this kind of different things. So we have a general discussion area, questions about artistic harmonies and sharing your work. And I want to say that since we had talked a little bit in the blog about copyrights, you keep your copyrights when you're on our website. Okay. Like I haven't really discussed this too much with John, but I'm not planning on grabbing your copyrights to your work. And I don't think John is either. But just so you know, it's very protected because it's behind a login, and it's different than Facebook, where if we ever see it shared somewhere by somebody else, you'll be in trouble. So so you share your artwork, you can make us laugh, little memes or whatever. And then there's an area for people that are member plus and member basic people. But what's really cool is you don't have to worry too much about the groups. You can come over to the timeline and it looks exactly, well, not exactly, it looks similar to Facebook, in that anything that I have posted gets marked here. So all of our blog posts are automatically sent to the timeline. So if you're on here and you're posting, you can come to your timeline area right here, and it will list everything new, all the new discussions, anything that's posted in any of the groups or anything like that. So it's just like any other social media platform where you can come here and see what's new very, very quickly. You can make connections with other users. You can join different groups. You can add photos. You can like things and not like things. So let's go back over to the timeline. So if you liked a particular blog, you can, select that, say that you like it. You can add a comment on it. So I'm just going to type the word testing in here and write post, and then you'll see that that's right below there. There it is. So very, very quick and fun to use. And I'm not going to stay on this for very long. I just wanted to kind of show you all that this is available if you become a member. And doing that, there's a little join AHA up here at the top. I mean, you can even see that from the home page. You join AHA, and that tells you what you get for your money. So that's the website.
Very cool.
Yeah, but a lot of work went into that. So I wanted to kind of show that and let folks know that they have an alternative for any art loving or artist who just wants to focus on that and not everything else that comes with social media, like ads and political things. And, you know, everybody knows how social media is, so don't have to go into that too much. But this one will be focused basically on our art businesses and our art, you know, any of the work that we do with that, you know, because that's who we're targeting with our users.
Yeah, I'd like to add too that Linda's worked very hard on this, and it's constantly being improved. She's made some tremendous improvements, and just like it is now that she showed you today, I'm absolutely certain that it will change. It may appear to look static, but it's not. There's a lot of interactive tools on there that you can deal with, and of course, a lot of content that we'll be adding to. But she's done a terrific job on this, so I want to compliment her on that.
Thanks, John. So yeah, see, now you guys know why I like working with John. So so over the last, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 weeks, I guess 5 weeks. No, because we were doing it, 5 weeks. Actually, more than that, because we leave a week in between. But that doesn't mean that we're not working on something.
We had an introductory art chat too, where I went over the 10 subjects, or we went over the 10 subjects that we were going to look at. And that was really actually episode 1. So
yeah, so at least last 6 weeks or so.
Yeah.
So I just want to real quick talk about the previous episodes. So in episode 2, we're calling this series the aha moments of managing an art business. This is what happens when you write and then you come into an art chat. My mind is still on what I was writing and not what I'm doing. So okay. So anyway, the aha moments of managing an art business. Episode 2, we talked about centering on what matters most: the creative, the person itself, the message. You know, are you an artist? In different things, you know, a business must have certain things before we make that launch. And you want to make something, your product should be something that's worth making. And we'll probably touch on that a little bit as we go into its value. And
Yes.
Then overcoming resistance and doubt. Like, you could always sit there and say, well, why am I doing this? And, you know, everybody has those moments. I had one yesterday and overnight, so it's not unusual to have those. Just kind of ride with them and tell yourself, yes, it's worth doing, and why, and you'll get through them. It'll be fine. Accept and prepare for risks and missteps. We all make them. We're not perfect. If we were perfect, even the Amazon guy isn't perfect. So so true. So then we followed that up with episode 3, which was an artist and a COO founder and what they pretty much need to do. And so you take yourself, you know, you have your artist self and you have your co-founder self, or your CEO self, and you need to understand things about that. And that is to understand what you really want and answer the questions: who, why, where, when, and how. And just so you know, those are like the 5 questions that journalists used to ask all the time. And that's why we had better news reporting back then. Less opinion and more facts. So the who, why, when, where, and how, that is really, really important that you have that defined: why you're doing it, who you're doing it for, where you're doing it, when you're doing it, how you're going to do it. All of those things matter. So, and then assess your commitment. And that comes in the time, in a way of how much time do you have, what resources you can use, and how much energy you have to put towards it. And then the third thing in episode 3 that we talk about is planning by research, and you make a go, no go timetable or decision at that point. So then in episode 4, see, we've been busy, guys. So in episode 4, the decision makers need to choose, is this a hobby or a career? And what we're talking about here, our business series, it doesn't matter if it's a hobby or a career, because you'll want to use these tools in both. Okay, so it can still be a hobby and you can still make money at a hobby, just as it can be a career and make money at a career. So the difference may be how much you make a year and how much time you really can spend against it. And so when we're working in the art industry, do you want to work for someone else or do you want to work for yourself? And that's another part of hobby versus career conversation that you should have going on in your head. And then another area for the decision makers, you need to decide what's in it for you, what's in it for your stakeholders, and what's in it for and stakeholders, a part of that is investors. So what is in it for them? So part of if you think of investors as someone who is interested in your artwork, for example,
or patrons, yeah, people
or
that
patrons. Yeah, so if you're on Patreon, what's in it for a patron to come and say that, yeah, I'll give you $10 a month as long as you keep me entertained with your writing or your music or your painting or your dancing or or whatever that is. Those are your stakeholders, and you have to figure out what's in it for yourself. Do you want to spend time making content that gets pushed out at some frequency? And then, is that enough for your stakeholders? Or are there other things that you need to be doing to keep them invested in your growth? And then we also talked a little bit about developing ideas for businesses and priorities and we talked about SMART goals and what SMART stood for. So, and I'm not going to tell you because I'm going to make you go listen to episode 4. So that brings us to episode 5. And we're going to touch on the difference between values and value. So John, I know you're going to do an entire series on this separately, but give us an idea of how the terms values and value are unique in their own right.
Yeah, a lot of people confuse them. And I think part of the confusion is that each one of those terms, values and value, mean different things, and they have different functionality to those terms. And there's literally hundreds of different meanings for each word. So the reason I bring that up is that I'm a firm believer that words matter.
Absolutely.
They essentially are the foundation of your thoughts and beliefs. And those same words that you use on a day-to-day basis shape your thoughts and beliefs. So you just have to keep those things in mind, that everything you say and the words that you use and that people listen to really communicates your thoughts and beliefs. I'm also a big believer in the fact that thoughts become things. You've heard of people say, oh, I'm a positive person and I do this and I do that. And there's a lot of truth in that thing, just as the fact that your thoughts can be both good and bad. And as we think of something, and I could pause here and say, y'all think of something and I'll be real quiet, but I'm going to go on. So later on, use this, but think of something, determine whatever popped into your mind. Was it a good or a bad thought?
I think I need to play the Jeopardy theme here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Because we use those good or bad thoughts to determine what I call the choice point. And that's the point of change, or basically where you make a decision to continue on a good thought or to fall into a bad thought and then have one of those days that you kind of go, why did I think of that? Just kill me. But just remember that thoughts become things, and you want to try to stay as positive as you can. Now, see, I'm such an optimist that I say that even if you think of something bad, it can actually bring you insight and awareness that will move us into something that will actually improve your thinking. It'll move us into things that are possible that we previously thought were impossible. So that's very important. Your thought process and your mindset are incredibly important to how you not only deal with business, but you'll see when we get into value and values, how it works in your art business. I know that when Linda and I talk, which is again quite frequently, we usually start how are you today? So we're always seeking out kind of what's the mood of the day and how will it affect us. I will tell you that another reason that Linda and I are good partners is that at Artistic Harmonies, we have a saying that we're looking for opportunities for good for everyone and everything that we do. So just keep those things in mind. We want you to stay positive. We want to give you things that will help you grow and succeed. And that's why we hope you'll become a member and join in and stay with us, and especially questions. We love to get the questions that we can think through with you individually, and we can discuss words, value, and values. Now that I've said that, here's the basics. Values are based on your personal orientation or your business attitudes, because I try to combine art and business together, which is what this is all about. But technically, I want to give you some general concepts in terms of business. So your personal orientation about all those things that we mentioned earlier, who, what, where, when, how, that you can be able to say, well, this is where I am and this is where I'm going. And you can think good or bad thoughts. So we want you to think good thoughts and go from there. Now, values, I'm going to give you some examples. And again, I mentioned earlier there's hundreds of them, but they're things, values are things like reputation, your achievements, your compassion, your determination, and your creativity. Each one of those have other definitions that point to your values as an artist. And there's, as I said, literally hundreds of words for values. Value, in its singular form, relates to things like function, financial, social, psychological, and theoretical value. Let me put it this way. Linda, do you think I'm a funny guy?
Put me on the spot like this, huh, John?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Well, see, the fact that I'm laughing as I say that tells a lot of what I basically portray as a person. And I said words matter. Funny can mean humorous, amusing, comical, or it can also mean strange or odd. And I'm so glad that Linda didn't say, yeah, you're funny. You remember the Mafia movie when the guy says, what do you mean you think I'm funny? And they had this standoff face to face. It was really hilarious.
Well, I could say, John, you fit the definition of funny. So
I tend to think funny things. Yeah.
Yes, you do.
So let's talk about, now that you kind of get the drift that words matter, and there's hundreds of meanings for different words, whether they're value or values-oriented words. You'll see a little more as we go along, especially in this really intense business series that we're going to have on values and value. You'll see how this is, it seems technical, and in a way it is, but once you grasp it, you're going to go great guns. So, but let's talk about how you assess values and value. When you're assessing values, an individual identifies where they are in their own evolution. So I can assess my values today and say, oh man, I'm really trying to be a humorous guy, and I'm going to work more on that, you know? So it's, when you're assessing your values, that comes out to who you are as a person. And I want to throw in here, I think I mentioned it toward the end, that I have an amazing link that I can send you if you would like to. It's one of those things where you get online, and I'm sure you've seen them, and you assess yourself, whether it's your personality or whatever. But this is a very high in accuracy values assessment test that you can take. Doesn't take long, you're on there, and I can tell you, I took it, and being honest with myself, it was spot on. So if you'll send us an email and let us know you want the link, I'll send it to you. It's free, won't cost you anything, but you will begin to assess your own values and just follow the instruction, do exactly what it says to do. I have you ever taken one of these, Linda?
Oh yeah, at P&G we had to do Briggs-Meyer, which was one
Yeah,
set of
yeah.
them,
Well,
and then there was
this one
another
is,
one that was risk. Are we risk averse? But yeah, so we've done a number of those. So
well, and I have too. And I think what changed my mind about this particular one is most of them say, pick a word from these words. And they were very emphatic about the fact, make sure that you pick a word that describes how you are, not how you want to be. And so I really went through it slowly and said, well, this is how I am. Let's see how it works out. And it came back and said, you're a funny guy. So, but anyway, that's where you're on. You're going to discover your own point in time and the evolution and the parts that you have not yet developed. And of course, we want to be a part of that with you and help you with that. Now, here's the fun part. This is one of my favorites. When you're assessing value, you can investigate it by diving really deep, but I can tell you that value really has to do with worth. And what you find out there is that there's some basic headings, if you will. There's functional value, there's financial value, social value, psychological value. So, and there's a lot more than that, but I wanted to point those out because that's what I'm going to show you here short. Linda, what things would you suggest, and I'm just going to say creative, but what things do you suggest that a creative should go through that ties in with value?
yeah, it was kind of interesting. This is when I was reading our little, we want to talk about, Word document. We got down to the bottom of values and value, and it made me think about when I was coaching artists to write specifically their artist statement. And you can almost say that, anybody really needs to do this. And it came back to, I would tell them to get away from their studio, go outside in nature or whatever, find a very quiet place. I don't care if the quietest place is your studio, get out of your studio. And I would tell them to write down certain things. And some of those certain things were like, how do you, what do you feel about art? Why do you feel that way? How do you feel when you're painting? How do you feel when you're creating music? And I told him, I said, I don't want complete sentences. I just want words. I just want them to put that. I feel calm. I'm excited. No big sentences, but calm, excited, whatever words came to their mind when they thought about it. And if one of the words was money, you put down money. There's no bad thing that would jump into your mind. And then I would tell them to go back and look at all of those words that they put down to the questions that I had asked them, and to start to form their artist statements from that. And so it was it was an exercise in finding their value in what they were doing. So yeah, so that was kind of what I saw. That's why I sent that note back to you and said, I want to talk about this. So you really have to figure out where you're coming from to really find your values and your value in what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that, and it's been my experience, a lot of people that are in a business or want to start a business have a tendency to just jump right in. Mm-hmm. And there are some preliminaries you need to do, and understanding and assessing value and values is very important. And there's a way to measure these. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that.
So I think from a business point of view, how a CEO or a founder makes sense of what they're worth and how they measure that, I think is where you're going next in our conversation, John. So let's talk about that. And this is like the
Okay.
embarrassing part, right? This is where you're going to
Huh?
embarrass me. This is where you're
I
going to
know I'm
embarrass
not
me.
going to embarrass you. I promise. I'm just a funny guy. That's all. Well, there are two things you need to know about value. Is it comes in a qualitative aspect and a quantitative aspect, and that's really a pretty simple thing to understand. But it is called value measurement. But let's now, Linda, this is where she says, "Oh, you're going to embarrass me." But no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I can justify my opinion or my value of Linda based on her experience in the art industry. She's a great co-founder and partner. She's open, she's honest, she does a lot of things that really add to the business. And I think as a co-founder, a founder, a CEO, or an officer, those are the things that you look for in a partner or a co-founder. Linda in particular brings tons of experience. She's honest about that. She's told me the good and the bad.
And he's still
she
here.
Has yeah. She has an extensive, and I do mean extensive, knowledge base and skills. The other thing is you can count on the fact that anything she tells you, any input she gives you about today's art industry, it is verifiable. So it's something to say that you can. She's got all these characteristics, if you will, but those are the qualitative factors about Linda. And if I were to sum it up as a business person, I'd just say that she's a highly qualified professional and a very diversified professional. She not only knows art, she knows writing, she knows playwriting. I've never seen her dance, but that's going to be
you will never see me dance. Never.
and movies. She's done scripts. We're working together. I'm having a little problem getting a hold of one of my contacts, but we're working together to see if we can't take her series of books and build off of that, where Linda can provide a script and we can fund a movie that would be relative to that. So again, that's my qualitative analysis of Linda, and I'm just tickled to death that we're working together. So now that's all the embarrassment I'm going to give you. Now, if we look at,
wasn't too bad.
I was going to say, you're supposed to say, keep going, keep going.
Yeah, more.
So that was the qualitative analysis of mine of Linda. The next thing I want to talk to you about is, how do I quantify that? I told you all these flowery things about Linda, but I can quantify them, as in being able to put a value on them that I consider to be specific and numerical, if you will, in the things that I just said about her. Well, I mentioned her experience. She's got 30 plus years experience in the art industry alone, keeping in mind that she served in I'm just going to say a management position, because I don't remember what her actual title is, with Procter & Gamble. And I know those corporations, they just drum things in you and teach you and teach you and teach you. I went through the same thing with the companies that I worked for. So I look at Linda and I say, well, yeah, she's got experience, she's got skills, but my belief, and I actually figured on this, I said she's got 30 years experience in the art industry, and that's equivalent to a total of $5 million cash. That's her monetary value. Now she looks at me and goes, where did that money go? But as we get into the values assessment and we talk about value in particular, we're going to touch on that, how you arrive at that point. She also could tell you, I say she can explain 7 art elements, and I had to look these up, folks, because I'm not an artist. Line, shape, light and value, color, textures and patterns, space, time, and motion, all involved with art. And I'm sure there's other things to add to that. She's trying to teach me. So she has that, her literary skills and all the other ones I mentioned before. And she's creative and talented person.
Thank you.
Also, big plus is Linda's more than qualified to teach the basics of painting as an introductory course, let's say. And there are 4 basic self-study lessons, which again is a quantitative point. And that involves self-assessment and 4 self-study lessons and techniques. And you'll learn about those after you join. So that's basically Linda's qualitative and quantitative characteristics. I could do more, but we just go on and on. So
I don't think I could get any redder, so embarrassed or whatever, but thank you so much for that. That was interesting to hear from my standpoint of how you see me, and very flattering. So thank you for that.
Well, and you could possibly get redder if you'll dance for us. So
no, I'm not going to go there with it. I had something really bad to say on that point, but we'll move on.
Okay.
So let's think about a business point of view, and how does a CEO, founder, partner make sense of what they are worth, and how do they measure their own value?
Okay. This is where I really get excited, because whether any value to a business, whether it's a startup or in some other stage of development, relates to experience and knowledge involved in, and I mentioned these earlier, function, financial value, social value, psychological, and theoretical value, if you remember those. From a qualitative side, a business mentor recognizes a client's strength when it comes to those 4 or 5 values that I mentioned: leadership, guidance, advice, feedback, and support. So you can very well analyze a client, which I do in business, as to what their strengths and weaknesses could be. There's also moral and ethical factors that can be part of a value assessment. You work long enough in business, you'll run into somebody that's a thief, or I mean, it happens, a fraud, or somebody that you just can't trust. So moral and ethical factors are very big on that.
And just to be clear, we're not just talking about like outside the art business. I mean, both John and I can give a lot of examples within the industry, and outside the industry, where ethics has become, I don't want to say an issue, but something that needs to be addressed in how you want to deal with and who you want to deal with certain.
That's right. I'm sure it was very upfront with P&G, and we've all heard the stories about people that copy paintings, sign another artist's name, and I've run into some of those people with my Lloyd Branson search for paintings. I actually caught a guy, I won't say in the act, he had finished it, but the signature was so off, and he was taking credit for Lloyd Branson's work, and he had a price tag of almost $5,000 on a piece that I could have done. Now that's saying a lot. So
yeah, so just be aware, they are out there, and both close to you and afar.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. So
And so,
quantitative side.
yeah, on the qualitative side, as we look at business value, when you do your research, you're going to want to look for 20 or more factual sources that are both positive and negative about your potential business that you're going to go into. Again, we go back to what we're trying to do is make something worth making. You ask yourself, does it solve a problem or satisfy a desire? A lot of times the person that's looking to buy a piece of art, they will buy it because they just really get into it and they desire that product. Same thing in any business. How you develop your strengths to achieve success by overcoming resistance and doubt, very important. Help accept and prepare yourself for the risks and missteps in order to provide positive solutions. We all make mistakes. The question is, what do you do with it? And we want to show you a way to deal with mistakes. We're also able to analyze just using a minimum of 6 factors. I hope y'all have heard of a SWOT analysis. If you haven't, again, send us an email and I'll go through that with you in an email. But a SWOT analysis will also help you reach that point of a go or no go decision. You're either going to say, yes, I'm going to go for it and start this business or build this business, or no, I'm going to go in another direction. And another quantitative value is the ability to construct a timeline of SMART goals with, I say, a minimum of 5 milestones to reach each goal. That can be whatever you think, but you don't want to shortchange that. And the key to doing milestones is to get you to a point where you're on time and meeting that goal within a certain amount of time or a certain number of weeks.
Yep.
So we'll finish up this business group of art chats. And then, like I said, right after that, we'll go into the value and values of business. And again, I think Linda's going to put up a blog post tomorrow that spells that out a little bit. So check the blog there.
Yep. And so you mentioned that we're going to delve into how a person calculates their monetary value to a business and how they determine the value of a piece of art. And one way that we have talked about before is you take, the square inch, how many square inches you have across, which is the kind of the standard way that everybody thinks about it today, times time, how much time it took, what your rate is per hour. Okay. So when I'm saying time, it's your rate per hour equals what you should sell that painting for. And that leaves out a lot of information. Like it leaves out how much I paid for my supplies. It leaves out how many hours and years that I have been gaining experience in creating a painting. It takes out how many hours that I spend out in nature observing how light hits leaves and ground and people's faces and shoulders and all of that. So all I'm really doing in that particular equation is one, shorting myself, because my rate will never really show. I mean, if I really truly am worth $5 million, so, I'm not using that to figure out how much I should be spending on a painting. And it really probably, that was just kind of a funny thing I'm throwing in there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use 5 million. But anyway, it's very, very limiting, and it doesn't really, I have a problem with that, because when you're shorting yourself and you're not looking at the real value of your work, that is doing yourself a disservice. And besides that point, I know there's another argument out there, John, that starts with, I have bills to pay. I have to buy paint. So if I really charge what I should be charging for my art and it never sells, I'll never be painting because I don't have any money to buy an art or to buy the supplies to make art. So with all of that in your head, can you give us a little hint here at what you're actually working on, which would kind of, I mean, this will be a major shakeup in how we're pricing art and you know, educating collectors about that. So, and I know you don't want to go into the proprietary stuff, and I don't want you to, but
Right.
yeah, give us a little idea of what you're thinking of here and how we're going to shake up the industry with artistic harmonies.
Yeah, I think just to kind of to balance and to be in agreement with what you just said, you gave a great, easy to understand definition or functionality of value in terms of an individual that does art. And without going into the specifics, I can tell you that we're going to break from that norm, as Linda said, of price per square inch, direct expenses. And when you're talking about costs of paint and materials and those kind of things, technically in a sound pricing strategy, you're supposed to mark those numbers up. Because if you buy a tube of, I'm going to call it white, I'm sure there's another name for it.
Which white?
Yeah, which white? You buy one of those large tubes of white, and let's just say for argument's sake, it's $50. That's going to sit. Oh, is it higher? Oh boy.
Well, it depends on it. I use Michael Harding paints because I feel they're the best. Other people use other paints because they feel it's the best, and that's fine. But yeah, Michael's handmade paints are expensive, but
yeah,
they're higher in pigment. And there's a reason why Michael can charge what he charges. So yeah, Michael's paints are higher. I think Gamlin's probably higher than that. Probably Rembrandt's a little higher than that. But you can get, yeah, you can find a tube of white paint for $50. Yeah.
okay. Well, keeping that in mind too, because you know, you want to be able to realize that, hey, when I buy that, I'm not going to squeeze out the whole tube right away. You know, it may take me 6 months to use it, depending upon how prolific you are at turning out paintings. But the fact of the matter is not only does that have value as it sits on the canvas that you just painted, it also has value of just being there in your studio. And so it is a direct cost and might factor into how you price a painting. But you have to be real sure that you add things in like appreciated value, future value, you know, and again, I think one thing that Linda and I are in agreement on is that you have to be very careful about doing a painting. Let's just say you did 10 paintings. You put them in a corner. Somebody walks in and says, "Ooh, I like that one. Can I have it?" Because that's how all these buyers do. Can I have it? Or friends say, "Can I have it?" You say, "No, I can't give it to you because that's how I make my living." And they might turn around and say, "Well, how much will you charge me?" That's
Your
the
friend.
next. Yeah, I'm your
Your
friend.
family member.
I want you to be very cautious of the fact that you discount something to a friend, or a gallerist comes back to you, and I got a real pet peeve with gallerists. They come back to you and say, "Hey, you had $6,000 on this, but I was offered 2,200. Do you want to take it?" The minute you make that concession, the word gets around. Word of mouth says, "Oh yeah, well, you paid what for yours?" "Well, I paid this," and people start to freak. We want to continue to build value based on, like I said, the current value, the future value, and be able to appreciate that value as you go along. Because again, if I try to be an artist, I'm going to start off with some awful looking work. It's a good and bad value, and it's probably going to be bad, but I might improve. And as I improve, the value of my work goes up, the time I put in it, the cost, and everything else. So I just wanted to bring that up to you,
Well,
because we are going to talk about not just how much can I get for a painting. We're also going to relate to how does it affect my lifestyle,
right.
my work-life balance.
John, let's take what you said back to corporate America.
Okay.
So if I think about when I started at Procter & Gamble, when I was 18, I was making, I'm just going to make up a figure here because I don't want to disclose what I was really making, but let's just round it up to 20,000.
Oh, let's say 5 million.
No,
I think you were worth 5.
no, I'm talking about when I was 18 and I started at
yeah.
Procter & Gamble right out of high school. So
Right.
let's say, so my net worth then was, I was an 18-year-old that was coming in off the street. I passed all of P&G's tests. They liked the way I interviewed. They hired me and they made me an offer of, let's just say $20,000. Okay.
Mhm.
That's not what they offered me for any of my old P&G friends who are listening. It was something else, but let's just say 20,000 just to make it easy. Now they have these things that are called raises, right? As my value went up, the amount of money I received yearly went up, along with something called cost of living, which artists don't plug into that equation, but it still affects them.
Right.
So now we have, I started out at $20,000. I'm 5 years in. At that time, when I first started working, I had to work there 10 years to get vested, something else that you hear a lot of the word. But I've been there for 10 years. I'm making so much more than what I started because of cost of living raises and also something called merit raises, which said that Linda was out there gaining experience and becoming more valuable to that company. Then from at any point after, let's say 10 years, if I had gone to another company, my value may have been thought of as more valuable than what P&G was basing my merit raises and cost of living raises on, or not, depending on how that company saw me. So I just wanted to make the comparison that in the real world, your value is constantly increasing as you learn more and become more of an expert. And you can say that your prices on your paintings go up as you gain expertise in whatever it is that you're painting. But does it really? Because I know a lot of artists who don't increase their prices over years because A, they're afraid they're not going to sell. B, they need the money to buy more art materials and pay bills. And they've gotten themselves into a position where they devalued themselves. And people know that they're, you'll come down on the price if I just sit here and haggle with you for an hour, or I walk out and come back next week. Okay. So what we're saying here is if companies like Procter & Gamble or any other Fortune 500 or any other business provides merit raises and cost of living raises and says your worth increases through the years, why shouldn't we be saying that for artists?
That's right. Just imagine if you walked into your boss at P&G and he said, well, or he or she said, I'm going to promote you, but we're good friends. We worked together a long time. Can you bring down the price that I'm going to pay you for taking on the additional responsibility? It doesn't work that way,
Yeah.
folks. And I think when you really delve into our proprietary solution to that, where we incorporate the value, the appreciation, and the future value, what I call dynamics, you're really going to be pleased. But it will give you answers that when somebody does that to you in terms of trying to get the price down, that you can come back and say, well, let me tell you something about this painting. and you can describe how many more paintings before you've done, how your costs are going up, you know, how your lifestyle costs are going up. And there comes a point where they just, they understand, they really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Otherwise you don't sell it. I read a story about an artist. A woman walked into a gallery and said, "I like that. How much?" And he said 400. And she said, "I'll take it." And she wrote a check, and she handed him the check. And he goes, "Wait a minute, you wrote this for 4,000." And she took the check back and tore it up and said, "Well, you know what that thing's worth, so 400." Okay.
Well, hopefully we won't be in the position where we have to honestly say you wrote this for 4,000 and, you know, that whole honesty thing comes up. But no, I mean, seriously, it's why are we treating the arts differently? And then, I mean, it's a business. Let's
Yeah,
take all of that sentimentality out and say it's a business.
it's one of, I'm just going to answer this real quickly. My opinion of why I don't like galleries and why I don't like people that are art experts, from the standpoint as they tell you what they think it's worth, and they may not, you know the values of what went on in that painting. So I'm really passionate about that. I think artists should not only make money on something they sell, but if the owner resells it to somebody else, I think the artist should make money on that resale, like royalties. So you can tell what I'm going to be working on.
Yeah. So I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I just wanted to
Oh,
draw
no.
that parody of how people are valued. And you can argue that corporate America isn't valuing their people as much as they should as well. And there are arguments on both sides of that, because, you know, as much as we try as artists, there is this thing called healthcare and all the other things that companies, large companies can offer, but small companies may not be able to. So there's always a value conversation you should be having with yourself is, you know, when it comes to work life. And when I'm saying work life, I'm talking, of course, I'm probably getting into number B here on our sheet, John, so jump in.
No, that's okay.
But work life and lifestyle balance and things like that. You know, I have a friend who basically worked in a totally different situation when she lived in Texas, and decided that they didn't want to live in Texas any longer. And so they moved here to Asheville. And she says, "You know what I love most about my job?" And I said, "What's that?" She says, "I close the door behind me and I don't think about it until I walk back in the door."
All
To
right.
her, that was important. She had it the other way in Texas where she worried about it all the time. But now she goes in, she helps people, she does what she's trained to do, and she closes the door at 3:30 or whenever the end of her day is, and she doesn't think about it until she goes back in to work. So that was important to her. Now, on the other side of life, she's enjoying herself. So she's, you know, cycling. She's one of my cycling friends. She enjoys art. She has all these other, she loves gardening. She has all these other things that she's doing. So she made a choice for a different work-life balance than what she had in Texas. So I thought that was great that she could do that. So yeah, factoring in your desired lifestyle and work balance is important. So.
And when a CEO who's taking home $5 million or $20 million a year says he's taking care of his employees, he's not, because he wouldn't be making that without them.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, well, I guess, you know, we're kind of winding down here a little bit. I do want to let everybody know there that all the things that we're doing now in terms of the blog posts, the art chats, answering questions, that kind of stuff, we surely would like to have you as a member, because we'll be, we've got art courses, we're going to have business courses and how they relate to the various art forms. So we hope you'll become a member and add to your skills and knowledge base, which will mean your value will go up. So hope you'll stay tuned in the next ones. Linda?
Yeah,
Give 'em
so
some.
we're gonna do episode 6 of the business series. I don't have the list off the top of my head, John, but I'm sure that we will focus in on something.
Yeah,
Focusing with-
it's about priorities, how to choose your priorities.
There we
So
go.
that'll be the next one.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
so that'll be great. Again, check out the the website. Join us, become a member. And the website will appear on the audio or on the video as I'm talking here. But also for those that are listening, it's Artistic Harmonies, ASSOC.com. If you just Google Artistic Harmonies Association, we're probably the first thing that comes up. And we'll catch you next time, John. So thanks for
That
all of
sounds
your
good.
research on this and talking with
Well,
us
thank
about
you.
value and values. So
I wish I could give you a funny before we sign off.
there you go.
Okay.
All
All
righty.
right.
So we'll talk to you all soon. Take care and see you next time. Bye-bye. Art Chat is made possible by the support of the Artistic Harmonies Association. Create your next aha experience with us.